Hello and welcome to this solution video on the MLB logic puzzle by DLink47. This is not my usual content, but I completed this Sporcle logic puzzle a while back, so I just didn't see any valid solutions online. Wanted to get this out there. If you're having trouble figuring it out, this is the video for you. Subscribe if you haven't already for my regular content. I make a lot of sports related content. So Braves, the two New York teams, are in opposite corners. Kings and queens can be found in E4. So this tells us that A5 and F1 are the Yankees and the Mets, or vice versa, the Mets and the Yankees. And then kings and queens, which are Royals, can be found in E4. So we can go ahead, put E4, Royals. The Fanatic lives in C5. Fanatic, Philly Fanatic, of course, the mascot for the Phillies. So we can put the Phillies in C5. This column is in reverse alphabetical order, so that's column 5. Siblings that shared a womb reside in A2, so that gives us 3 right off the bat. We know that this column is in reverse alphabetical order. We know that A5 is either the Mets or the Yankees, so we know since the Yankees come after the Phillies in alphabetical order, this has to be the Yankees, and in turn, we know that F1 is the Mets. And then it also said that siblings that shared a womb reside in A2. This is another word for twins, so we'll put the twins in A2. Speaking of pairs, Sox always come in pairs, so that tells us that the White Sox and the Red Sox are next to each other. The Yankees says California teams all share a row. The only reptile can be found directly below the Twins. And the only reptile in baseball is the Diamondbacks, so we could put them here in B2. And then we know all 5 California teams are in the same row. That'll help us later on. Diamondbacks, all bird teams that reside in the U.S. can be found in column 5. Blue Jays are not in the U.S., so we know it's the Cardinals, and we know it's the Orioles. And we know since column 5 is in reverse alphabetical order, that the Cardinals and the Orioles have to fit between D5 and F5. Now, the Mets says the Angels are in column 1. So we know that the Angels have to be in the same row as all the other California teams, and they're in column 1. Since there's 5 California teams currently before the A's move, A's, Angels, Dodgers, Padres, and Giants, we need a row with 5 slots open since we don't have any of them on the board yet. And the only row for that is D. We know the Angels are in column 1, so we can put the Angels in D1. The teams whose stadiums are named after brewing companies are in row F. So that would be the Cardinals with Busch Stadium. That would be the Brewers with, I forgot the name of their stadium. And that would be the Colorado Rockies with Coors Field. Since we know the Cardinals are a bird team in the U.S., that means they are in row 5. And now we know they're in column F. They're in column 5. Now we know they're in row F, so we can put the Cardinals in F5. Cubs are in the same row as the letter their name begins with, which is column C, or row C, rather. And then Rocktober, another name for the Colorado Rockies playing in October, although they haven't in a while, lives in column 4. Since the Rockies play in Coors Field, which is a stadium named after a beer company, they are in row F, so F4 must go to the Rockies. The Twins and one of their divisional rivals border each other in row A. So the Royals are already on the board. That leaves the White Sox, the Tigers, and the Guardians. We'll leave that to the side. The Mets, we left alone. B3 and C3 both start with the same letter as mine. So letter M, the only other 2 teams that start with M, that is the Marlins and the Mariners. So we know B3, C3, Marlins, and the Mariners. Okay, from here, we know the Orioles belong in one of these 2 spots still because all the bird teams in the U.S. are in row 5 or column 5. And we know that D belongs to only California teams, which Baltimore is not. So we know the Orioles can go here. The Reds are in row A. So we know that A3, because the Twins border one of their divisional rivals in row A. A3 must be a divisional rival of the Twins. The Reds are not, so the Reds have to be in A4. The Reds says, my name is part of the team below me. Of course, the Reds is found in Red Sox, so Red Sox has to go here. A3 and A4 have something geographically in common, C3 and C4. We don't know A3 and A4 yet. We don't know C4 and C5 yet, so we'll leave that to the side. Okay, back to the 5th column. We know that it's reversed alphabetical order, right? And we know that row D is all the California teams. So D5 has to be a California team whose name comes between Orioles and Phillies in alphabetical order. The Dodgers comes before Orioles. The Giants comes before Orioles, the Athletics comes before Orioles, but the Padres comes between them. So we know that the Padres are D5. Two teams touching in this row have the same city name. So in this row, we are still missing the Giants, the Dodgers, and the Padres. The only two teams that reside in the same city as the Padres, the Angels, or one of the other teams I listed are the Dodgers and the Angels. So the Dodgers and the Angels must be next to each other. Dodgers must be in D2. All my divisional foes are disgusted by the amount of money I spend, so none of them will touch me. So the two teams we have left for D are the A's and the Giants. We know since the Giants won't touch the Dodgers, the Giants have to be in D4, and the A's have to be in D3. Verlander's teams are in column 1. Okay, so we're missing the Astros and the Tigers. And then, of course, he's played for the Mets, but the Mets are already here. So we're missing the Astros and the Tigers in these 3 spots. Now that we know that, we can say in some combination here that we know most of the situation. So if the Astros and the Tigers are in column 1, we're still missing a divisional rival for the Twins in A3. That can't be the Tigers. Since we know that the White Sox and the Red Sox are paired with each other and next to each other, horizontally or vertically, we know the White Sox cannot be an A3 either. The Royals are already on the boards. That leaves one division rival for the Twins, and that's the Guardians. There's no Texas team in row E. So that takes out Houston and Texas from row E. We're still missing Houston and Detroit in column 1 here for Houston and Detroit, rather, for Justin Verlander's team. So we know Houston is either B1 or C1. Worry about that in a little bit. So at this point, we know that the Guardians and the Reds are in A3 and A4. They're in the same state, Cleveland and Cincinnati. And because of this clue here in B4, A3 and A4 have something geographically in common with C4 and C5. So we know that C4 and C5 are also in the same state. C5, the Phillies are in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. C4 also has to be in Pennsylvania. So that's the Pirates. The U.S. Capitol is touching horizontally with a team from outside the U.S. So the U.S. Capitol, the Nationals, touching with a team horizontally with outside of the U.S. So that's the Blue Jays. We know that the Blue Jays cannot be in column 3 since they have a color in their name. And so we know the Blue Jays either have to be in C2, E2, F2, E1, C1, or B1, and then the Nationals have to be one over from that. Okay, so from here, we should be able to nail where the White Sox are. We know that the White Sox and the Red Sox always are next to each other because they come in pairs. And because the teams in column 3 cannot have a color in them, that would mean, as shown here, that would mean that the White Sox would have to be in B5. We can put them there. Florida teams are in this row. So that leaves the Marlins and the Mariners in B1 and B3. And because down we see it, the Mets, B3 and C3 both start with the same letter as mine. That's the Marlins and the Mariners here. And then we know that the Marlins and the Rays are here. I misspoke earlier. Marlins and the Rays are here. So the Marlins have to be here. That leaves the Mariners for here. And the Rays for here in B1. Okay, where are we at? So we have the Tigers and the Astros in C1 and E1 as Justin Verlander's 2 teams. We know the Texas team cannot be in row E. So the Astros have to be in C1 and the Tigers have to be in E1. Astros, my in-state rival, is in the column next to me, but I am definitely not touching it. So that's the Rangers. They can't be in C2. They either have to be in E2 or F2. We know based on the one in the bottom right here that the Cubs are in the same row as the letter their name begins with. That's C. There's only one space left. They got to be here. So the 4 teams we have left, we have the Blue Jays, we have the Nationals, we have the Rangers, we have the Brewers. We know the Brewers are in the bottom row because their stadium is named after a beer. We know that the Blue Jays and the Nationals are in the same row because, well, at least that they're touching because horizontally. I'm sorry. The U.S. Capitol is touching horizontally with a team from outside the U.S. So since we know the Brewers are in one of these 2 spots, we know that the Blue Jays and the Nationals have to be here and here or vice versa. And because column 3 cannot contain a team with a color in its name, the Nationals have to be in E3 and the Blue Jays have to be in E2. That leaves the Rangers and the Brewers. The Rangers, like it said on the Astros, my in-state rival is in the column next to me. That's column 2. So the Rangers have to be here. The Brewers have to be in F3. And that's the solution to this MLB logic puzzle. If you have another logic puzzle like this and you want me to find the solution for it, I'll publish a video on it. And I'll leave the link in the description down below if you want to play this puzzle for yourselves. Thanks for watching. Peace out.